So the next step is we're going to sound treat your vehicle. And as you can tell, depending on which kit you chose, will depend on how much of this you actually received. So if you decide to go with the two-way passive system, you'll notice that we included 18 total tiles, which is 5 for each front door and then 4 for each rear door. And if you decide to go with the two-way active system, you're actually going to receive a whole box, which is 72 tiles, which means we're going to do 32 for each front door and then 4 for each rear door. And if you went with the three-way active system, which is the top end system, you'll notice that you receive 2 boxes of this, which is actual total of 144 tiles, which means we're going to do 36 per door. And one thing I want to talk about is why we do this, depending on the systems, is the black hole tiles are actually a more effective damping method. So you're actually going to get better acoustical treatment. Your system's going to sound better the more of this you do. And you'll notice over here also we have the black hole mat. So we actually are going to combine these two. So if you actually went with the two-way passive, you're actually going to receive 6 boxes of this, while only 18 of these. If you went with the two-way active system, you're going to receive 5 of these and a whole box of these, and so forth, so on. So three-way active, you're only going to get 4 of these, the 2 boxes of these. So if you are interested in doing more of this, even if you had a two-way passive system or two-way active system, let us know and we can actually upgrade you to this. This is just a little bit more cost, but a lot more effective. So it's something to really consider. So as we get it going in this video, we're actually going to start with the two-way passive and work our way up to the three-way active. But we're going to go ahead and get started and show you how to implement this.
All right, so the first thing we're going to need is a drill with the 7mm and panel tool and possibly a pick as well. There are a few panels you have to take off before you get to the screws. There's one right here. It pulls off with the clips. Right here there's a little insert. If you can see it right there, you can actually fit your panel tool in there. You'll hear it unclip. That one's kind of tough, so just take your time with it. And there's a tab that slides in right there, so don't pull from this end. And this one has 2 clips on the top right here. These are pretty tough, so just like that, and they hook in from the bottom. Then you have 7s here, here, and there. There's a 7 here and 2 7s on the bottom. And then you can just basically either use the panel tool, or usually you can just pull on it and get all the clips undone and pull up from the top. The door actually hooks on the top there. Then you have standard clips for all the plugs. This one is a little tricky. There's a little clip right here. You just push down on it and it pulls out from the bottom and it hooks in at the top. Door. Alright, so you can go ahead and remove what's left of this vapor paper. And that can just be thrown away.
Yep.
And we're going to remove this speaker 7s as well.
Don't need to keep that hardware.
Yeah, you don't need to keep this hardware. The kit has screws provided for the speakers. And if you want to put the system back to factory, just hang on to the hardware, hang on to the screws, just hang on to everything that you take out, and it is all plug and play back to factory. The next step we're gonna do is get this leftover butyl that's from the factory vapor paper. Just go ahead and get that all off. It's usually pretty easy on these Ford trucks. And then we're gonna get our block off plate. Find the one that says front right, or FR. That doesn't stand for France. And you can see these two little indentions in the door, and these little holes right here, those are going to, that's where your alignment is going to be. So once you have those two lined up, then you can take your 1/8 inch drill bit and just drill all of these out. That's what we're gonna do. Drill. And I'm just gonna mark each one. I'm not gonna drill all the way through quite yet. Also, one thing to make sure before you take the doors off, just make sure your window is up, because when you're sound treating this inner skin, that window is going to be in your way. So just make sure before you take the door off to have all the windows up and out of your way. You won't ever need to have them down. Alright, so now that we've got our holes drilled, so we're going to go ahead and test fit the block off plate. So you can take your screws, get your Phillips bit. Line that up. So you can go ahead and just put 2 screws in and just eyeball and make sure all the screws line up, all the holes. I can already tell that I missed one right here, so I'm just going to go ahead and drill that one out. So there we go. You can just take this block off plate back off.
Just set it to the side.
And then you just want to leave 2 screws in the door to make it easier to line up the block off plate whenever you have sound treatment on here, because when you have the sound treatment on here you won't be able to see all of these holes. So we just like to leave 2 screws in there so that way there's little indentions there and you can just take your drill and drill them out. So next thing we're going to do is take our prep saw and go ahead, just clean the inner and the outer skin off in the door. So you really want to make sure to do this so that way the sound treatment really sticks to the door, because a lot of times these doors can get dirty if they're riding on dirt roads or something, and sound treatment doesn't really stick to dirt so much as it does actual door panel. So for your two-way passive system, let's go ahead and grab our 5 tiles for the front right door and a blade, and let's go ahead and install these. The reason for the blade is just to make it easier to get the tape off the back. Do not cut these because they are actually weather barrier sealed, so that way they don't absorb any moisture. So if for whatever reason you want to put them somewhere where they won't fit in this size, don't put them there. So just don't cut them up. So we're going to take our blade and take this tape off. And basically we're just going to get these behind the speaker. That's where they do their most, that's where they're most effective. So we're just going to stick them in the door just like that. Make sure they have a good seal to the door, and you move on to the next one. This sticker on the back can be kind of tricky.
Frustrating,
But
it's worth it.
It's definitely worth it. You just want to get those in there where they're stacked on top of each other. Make sure you don't stack them on top of these glue joints or up here. Any kind of added distance from the door panel, it may hit the window. So you want those to actually touch the skin of the door. And then we're just going to go directly next to the ones that we set in there previously. Just like that. So this one right here, this one is an oddball, so like we have 4 right here, so they basically just stack on each other, and we have a 5th one. This one is actually going to go next to it, and we're going to stick it up vertically like that. So that way we can pretty much get the full distance of the speaker. So this one's going to be kind of tricky, but can fit it around this rail. Line it up and press it on. So that's the tiles.
It's hard to see back there.
All right, so next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and get started with our black hole mat. Go ahead and bring this over. You will need a blade, some scissors, a roller, and a tape measure. So go ahead and take all of this over. So the first thing we're gonna do is just take some measurements. So basically we have our black hole tiles from this point right here. So we just want to put the mat from this point over on this centerpiece. So we're gonna measure from over there to here. It's about 25 inches. And it's 6 inches on the right side. It is 5.5 on the left side. So we're actually gonna take this back over here. Cut this out and measure it. So what did I say, 26?
You said 25.
Let's measure that again. 25. So we're going to go ahead and measure out our 25 right here. Just make a little mark with your blade as long as you have scissors. And then we can just cut right through it. Then we have 5.5 on the left side and 6 on the right side. And go ahead and peel that paper off. Truck. Make sure, again, not to go over these glue joints or these cross beams here. You want to make sure that you have a very good seal so that way the water doesn't get underneath the sound treatment. Then you can take your roller and roll it on. Go ahead and apply a pretty good amount of pressure to it. Alright. So now we take our tape measure. So these top pieces are going to be much longer than these because we don't have tile up there. So it's going to be about 37. Well, actually we have this handle here, so we don't want to go all the way over. We just want to go to that handle, which is about 30. And then it's going to be about 7 there. And 3.5 here. So 7 on the right side and 3.5 on the left side. Now if you can see over here, so we're starting about right here, but the door actually comes down, so we're going to try and replicate that angle as best as we can. Nice. That lined up perfect. So you want to try and get your roller in there as well as possible. Alright, get the tape measure again. Now this bottom piece is going to be about 33. Do 9 on the right side. And 9 on the left side. Alright, so since that bottom piece is actually going to be 33 inches long, these pieces aren't quite long enough, so I'm just going to cut this one down to 16.5 inches. And then cut it in half this way. So 16.5. And then these pieces are always going to be about 20 inches tall. So you can just measure them out about 10 inches. And that's going to go in the door just like that. Then just try and get your roller in there as much as we possibly can. All right. So now the inner skin is sound treated. All right, so now we're going on to the two-way active system with the 72 tiles. It's only 32 for the front two doors and then 4 for the rears each. So just go ahead and open it up, and the smart thing we think you should do is just go ahead and pull 32 tiles out. All right, so we got 6, 8, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 4, 7, 30, 32. So that's all the tiles that are going in each front door. So go ahead and get started. Thank you. All right. So if you missed the last part, if you didn't watch the two-way passive system, I'm using this blade just to get the sticker off, not to cut any of the tile. We do not suggest cutting the tile because there is a weather barrier in here, just to block away moisture. So I'm just using this to get the sticker off. The sticker can be very frustrating, so just take your time with it. I've found that it's kind of easy to kind of cut the edge of the sticker, kind of slide your blade under it. So we're just gonna start over here, just put them on there horizontally, and just gonna go over as far as possible and stick them on nice and firm. Make sure to not stick them on these glue joints here or the beam, the frame here, because if you stick them on anything other than the actual outer skin, the window will not roll down. The window's gonna hit them. So just want to make sure that's nice. All right. And we're just gonna stick these on, one on top of the other, like one there, then one there. And we're gonna go all the way across. So we've got 17 tiles here. Basically just line them all in 2 rows. Now we're gonna do this top section and this lower section. Now if you have the 3-way active system, you'll put 7 up here and 12 down here. But if you have the 2-way active system, you'll have 5 to go up here and 10 to go down here. You want to make sure to get this area right here just because it is much more resonant than it is up here. So, alright, let's get our squares, our tiles. So basically with this bottom section, we're gonna stagger these pieces, not necessarily do them like this where we have them in rows. So we're gonna do maybe like one on the top and the next one on the bottom, just stagger them like that. So it's probably easiest to go on this end through the speaker hole. I'm just gonna put that one on the top. if you have the 3-way active kit, you may have some extra tiles here at the bottom. You can just fill in as you need. You can put some where you staggered them, you know, some of the empty spaces. So that's what we're going to do now. All right, so we put 12 tiles down here at the bottom. We have 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then we went 2, 1, and 1. The one over here was kind of tricky. Thankfully, I have pretty skinny arms, so I was able to reach in there. But now it's time to move on to the top side and get these installed. So basically on this top section, I'm gonna do 2 here because that seems like the biggest issue on this door panel, and then do a single layer across, just however many you can fit there. And I would, depending on how many you have, if you have the 2-way active, you'll have 5 to put up here, and if you have the 3-way, you'll have 7 to put up here. If you do only just have the 5, I would try and space them out. Maybe you can put them up here before you pull the adhesive off and just see how far apart they need to be spaced out. Alright, so I've got all the tiles in place. I've got 2 right here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then 2 right here. So that's the 7-piece. That's basically how you would lay it out for the 3-way active system. Again, if you had the 2-way, you have 5 tiles to work with. So just space those out appropriately. So that's pretty much it. So next we're gonna treat the outer skin of the door. And basically what we're gonna do is just get all of this harnessing right here. We're gonna undo all of it and get it inside the door through this grommet and push this into the door. So that way we can get a just a flat surface and be able to put our treatment on there without having to work around any wires or anything like that. So basically you're just going to take your panel tool and a 7mm here. First thing we're going to do is get this sensor out of the way. get all these clips out. And this right here, just unplug it, and you can actually take it off of this plastic housing. Just like that. And that's all the wiring that you'll have to take out. Then you just want to push in this grommet here. Just tuck everything in there. Just leave that in there like that. Then you have this, which is the door latch, and just run that through the hole. Now you're ready to get the sound treatment on there, but first we did clean it beforehand, but that was with the wiring on there. So what we're going to do is just take our prep saw and just clean it again. Make sure to not cut yourself on these. They're very sharp edges right there, so just be careful with that. All right. So now we're going to need a brand new box of sound treatment. And we're just going to measure out and see how far wide we need to go. I know that the height is not going to be quite tall enough, but we're going to cut an extra sliver to go right here. So we just need to know the width that we need, which would be about 36. So, go back over here. Measure out 36, make a little mark. All right, so this piece is actually gonna go just about right there. We'll have to make some adjustments here with the handle. I'll show you how to do that. But basically you're gonna be about halfway up from these little notches here. So it's gonna be about just like that. And we'll make little notches there so that way that sits flat. So we can go ahead, fold the paper off.
Razor blade.
Take our razor blade. We will need that. And get it as even as possible. Should be it right there. Just want to go around and make sure everything's flat. Down here you're gonna just kind of tuck these in and take your blade, just cut a notch there, fold it down, and then just cut across. Do the same thing on this side. You could take your roller and just start rolling it on. We're gonna leave these edges just kind of loose because we're gonna have to be pulling it up to see where we need to cut. So just leave those edges somewhat loose. All right, so in this section we will be cutting right here, so that way we can get this sound treatment to just fold back here. So we're going to be cutting on the line of that bracket, just folding it on up. Then so for this side, just want to again cut a slit along the edge of that bracket, and then you can just fold it on up, go all the way across with it. In this section right here, if you don't cut this out right here, your handle will actually not be able to release. So I'm gonna fold this over right here, but then cut a section right here. When you're cutting this mat with a blade, just kind of trace it first and kind of just cut the exterior of the foam. Go over it a couple times, and when you're ready to pull it off, it'll literally just peel off. All right. So let's go ahead and press this down and roll the rest of it. So for this section over here, I have a clip hole right there. So I'm gonna kind of follow this angle right here on the factory, on the door. Kind of just come down. And remember, just kind of trace it. That clip is right here, so I've got to go beyond this point right here and then just come on down. Then we're going to do something similar over here. We're just going to kind of make this corner, just kind of round it over. So let's start up here. Just round that corner over. Alright, so now we can go ahead and measure out and see what kind of piece we need. To that side, should be the same measurement. Yep, about 36 inches. We're gonna go ahead and make one. It's gonna be 6 inches tall. So 36 by 6 inches. Actually cut the 6 inches off first. 6. Alright. And that's going to fit basically just like that. So you want to start on one end or the other. Just kind of make sure everything lines up. Go. So don't press that down quite yet because we're going to be cutting there. And pretty much all the way across here.
See.
So I'm just going to follow this line here that I see. Then we're just going to be following this line here. So you can start up here. And here I'm going to start going down and meeting back at this angle right here. So now we've got that all on. Just want to go over it with the roller. Just make sure it's all pressed on. Now we've got to cut out all of the holes. So we've got 4 holes, one for the block off plate, one here for the door latch, the speaker hole, and for all the factory wires. So we're going to start here. Basically, you just kind of follow the line that you see. If you press in far enough, you can see that line. You just want to kind of trace it. And it can just rip off. Then you just want to push those edges down. Alright, next we're going to do this right here, and that's the door latch. So, pretty much the same thing. Just want to feel where that hole is. Time to break the blade. Now you can go ahead and route that through. Then we've got the hole for the wires we have to cut out. and the speaker hole. There's the sensor that went right here. We like to just go ahead and cut that all the way out, just so that way there's no issues with it. So you can just cut a little square out. Just like that. That sensor will actually sit in there. We can pull our wires all the way through. You can kind of just pull on the wires, and the grommet should fix itself out. But if it doesn't, you can usually stick your hand back there and push it through. So now we have all this, and we've got to figure out where it goes. So these all go back up here, and then this goes back here. So that's the general routing of where the wires go. If you stick your hand back here, you can fill a circle hole, which is where that clip goes. This is where I like to have the pick, because you can kind of find where that hole is, which can be tasking sometimes. Sometimes you can stick the pick from the other side. There it is. Right there. So now we're just gonna cut a round hole around that circle. As much of a round circle as you can make. That'll just make it easier for this clip to sit on in and clip right in. So right here, this is where our other clip goes. My sound treatment's just barely covering it. So I'm just gonna make a little notch right here. clips in. If you feel back here, you can feel the next one. There it is, right there. Cut a little bit more out of that. All right. So now it's probably easiest to go ahead and push that clip in. Put these wires in. You have that clip that holds the wires in there. Because you can't really feel back here where those holes are. But if you get those wires in there, you can kind of get it lined up and take a pick, kind of feel around. Should have one more about right there. Yep. So I noticed this clip came out, and it's because, as you can see, this side is out further than this side on the clip. If you get something in there, you can push it out, and that'll help it clip in there a little bit better. Now those are in there. So now we have this box that we took out. We can go ahead, clip that back in, and put the plugs in. So these and this plug, these three plugs go to the door panel, so we won't have to worry about those. But we do have this that has to be routed over here. So I'm going to go ahead and put these screws back in. And now now I can feel a clip about right here. So there it is. There's another one right here. And one more right here. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. I can barely feel it with my hand on the inside. There it is right there. Alright, so that is all of the sound treatment. Now we just have the block off plate and the speaker that's left. So first thing is we still have these screws that are in there, which you can see them. One's right there and one is right there. So you can just fit your Phillips head right in there and it'll go through the sound treatment and pull the screw out. So now you have two alignment holes for your block off plate. So just thread that screw back in there. Tighten it down. Take your other screw, line it up with that hole. That's it. Now we've got to get our bag of screws. Here. Get a few out. I like to just go around skipping every other one, just that way you get the whole block off plate lined up. So that's the block off plate. As you can tell, these speakers are mounted in the adapters a little bit different. And you have the logo and the speaker wire adapter like this. This is meant to go into the left side with the wire adapter out that way. And this one with the Focal badge this way is meant to go on the passenger side. So that's the one we want. And take the film off if it's still on. And we need some speaker screws. Can't forget those. So we're gonna need 4 of these. And I find it easiest to just go ahead. You can kind of see the little square for the screw hole, and you can feel it on the back side. I find it easiest to just go ahead and thread them beforehand. Just so that way you're not having to find that and holding the speaker at the same time and risk dropping it. Go ahead and put all 4 in. And hook the speaker up. And there is one final thing to do, and that is the foam around the speaker. So,
Scissors.
yep, take your scissors and can get it around. Fits around like that. Just want to take the tape off the back. Doesn't matter where you start, you can start anywhere. And just ride the edge of that speaker. So that's where we need to stop. So I'm just gonna cut it right there. Make sure it's stuck on the adapter. And that's it. Now we need to just get the door panel back on. We've already got the tiles in place. We've got the block off plate screwed down, all the sound treatment. So it's time for the door. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is sound treat the door panel itself. This is basically all plastic, and it's pretty thin plastic. I mean, you can hear just stuff rattling around. So we're going to add some density with the black hole mat, and basically what we're going to do is just rip this stuff off, get all of this off, and get this sticker off. And we're going to get our cleaner. And just go over the spots that we're going to be adding the treatment to. All right, so we've got it all cleaned up, and now we're about to just get some squares in here. We're gonna put a little bit right here and here, and a piece right here and here. So let's get to measuring. So first thing is, that's gonna be 31 inches. You can go ahead and cut that off. And it is 7 inches tall. Alright, so that's going to go on there like that. So, take that off. You want to line this corner up first. Try and get it as straight as possible. And I'm just going to cut on this line here. Alright, and I've got some little insert like things right here. We just want to make sure we get all of that cut out, so that way all the sound treatment sits flat on the panel. And there's also one right here. Now we can take our roller on this half. So now we've got to come over and do this arch here. Okay. So now we got this bottom panel treated. We've got this, and these two pieces right here. So I'll do this one first. 5.5 by 4. I should have cut that the other way. I will. 4 by 5.5. This piece you can just fold it down. There. Okay. So let's work on these now. So should just be a square, 3.5, 3.5, and then 2.25 by 3. So we can just work with this. 2.25. 3. And 3.5 by 3.5. So now we have this piece that's left over. So let's put basically going to be 8 by 10 at most. That's not 8, so we're gonna move on to this piece right here. So the 10 needs to go this way. And let's go ahead and put it. So I'm gonna line it up down here, and once I get right here, I'm gonna take my blade, just make a cut to where it can go around this piece right here for this clip. And I can get that folded in and cut this way. And then just straight down. And now I'm just going to follow this line right here. Alright, so roll the piece on. And that's what we're going to do for the door panel itself. So now this is ready to go back on since we've got basically everything in place. Alright, so at this point we're ready to put the door back on. You have your factory hardware. All of them are 7s, so that's all you need to put the door back on. And make sure you have all your panels ready. So let's get started. Alright, so first thing is, what I like to do is I like to set the door rested on these little black pieces right here. This helps you get it in a position where you can plug everything back in. This piece right here, it's the door latch, just slides in, clips in. Very simple. This piece right here clips in. The clip fell off, so I'm just gonna push that back on. And then you've got the door lock. And the window switch. And just make sure these wires are pushed out of the way. Sometimes they get caught in front of the speaker. So you just don't want that to happen. Just make sure that they're pushed out of the way. So then you can feed that door lock right there in that hole and push the top on to where it hooks and all of the clips should just push right back on. Now we're ready for the screws. So you can just get all of the screws, and the gray looking screws, the little bit bigger washer on them, they go up here. And these silver looking screws right here with the smaller washers go right down here. The black ones, one goes right here in the cell pillar, and the other two go down here in the bottom. Then you have your panels. Pretty simple. This one just clips on. This one, remember, has the tab right here. Just slides in on the back. Pops in. Then you have the two tabs on the bottom with this one. And the clips on the top. Just like that. Now the door is fully treated, back together. You got your speaker in there. So that door is good to go. So next we're going to go on to the rear door, and we're going to go ahead and get the tools necessary to get this door off. And Alright, so we're going to get started on the rear door now. You'll need basically the same exact tools that you use for the front door. The process is very slightly different, but same tools. So let's get started. I just want to start with your panel tool and number 7 socket. And first thing we're going to do is we have this notch down here, and slide our panel tool in there. Unclip that. Remember, the tab is on the back side. So. Two 7s in the handle, 2 7s in that lower portion. Then you have, just like the front door, you have 2 7s down here. Alright. Just apply a good bit of pressure and pull the clips out. Have a couple plugs down here as well, and this door latch. So you have that clip right there that you push down, and it latches in at the top, hooks in at the top. Set that to the side.
Wonder why this truck was like filled with water, like whenever it would like outside, but all the windows would be water, like water pouring down the inside of the windows. Now so.
Alright, so just want to go ahead and pull the paper vapor off, or vapor paper. That's going to be trash. And 3 7s on this rear door. And remember, you can keep this factory hardware and the factory speakers if you do want to put it back to factory in the future, you know, if you sell the truck or something. So first thing we're going to do is get our block off plate and just 2 screws. You'll need a Phillips bit and your 1/8 inch drill bit. So this one lines up almost exactly like the front door. You have the 2 notches here, and you just want to line those up. Go ahead. It's going to make 2 marks, 1 on each corner. Then go ahead and put 2 screws in on drill. Now we can get all these holes drilled out. Go ahead and pull these screws out. Pull the block off plate off and put the screws back in. Now we can just set this to the side, and we're going to use our cleaner. And you don't have to get the outside of the door very well right now, because we're going to get it again once we get all the wiring off. But I'm just going to go ahead and get the inside of the door cleaned out. Alright, so we got that cleaned out. now we're ready for the sound treatment. Alright, so this is going to be for the two-way active and the two-way passive system. We're going to be using 4 black hole tiles for the rear door, and then the rest is going to be the matte. So let's get started. I'm going to show you where these go, and then we're going to get started with the matte. So these are actually going to go right behind the speaker. That's the best place for them to go. So do one right there. One directly below it. And we're going to go right next to it. Alright, so that's the tiles. And now we're going to get the sound treatment and cut sections to where they fit in between these beams right here. Okay, so we've got a few pieces here that we utilize from the front door. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out what sizes we need. So I'm just going to go from the left side, or from the right side of these tiles, measure from there to about 20 inches. This bottom side is going to be about 27. So let's see what size this is. About 25, so we'll just go ahead and cut that one down to the 20 inches. And the height is going to be 9.5 and 9.5. I just kind of lined it up right under these glue joints right here and just to the edge of the tiles right here. Just press it on all the way across. Now we're going to get our roller. Just make sure it's on there really well. Okay. So now we need to measure. This bottom portion was 27. Let's see how big this top portion needs to be. We have this handle that comes about right here. So we can only get about 20 inches. So we can utilize that other piece, about 7, 4. That piece isn't quite enough. There we go. Should be perfect. This is just a 20 by 7 piece right here. And try to feel up there and see. You can't really see in there, but you can basically feel where those glue joints are. And before you firmly press it on there, just make sure you're actually on the actual door instead of any kind of other joints or braces. So that's all good. Get my roller in there. Now this other piece was 27. Let's see. Got about 7. So this one might be a little tricky getting in there and press down. Just try and do the best you can.
Yeah, another thing, you could cut that in half if you needed to. You don't have
Right.
to put it in as a single piece. You could literally splice it up however you would like, as long as you can meet it back up inside the door panel.
Right. And a lot of this on the bottom is going to be hard to roll on, so you're just going to have to press it down really hard with your hand. Make sure all the edges and everything like that gets firmly pressed down onto the metal. Alright, I'm going to try and get my roller in here. Do it a little bit. And just go over it with your hand again. Make sure everything is So that's the whole inner skin of the door for the two-way active and the two-way passive systems. Alright, so for the three-way active systems, we have 36 tiles that need to go in the rear door, just like we did in the front door. So basically, your kit came with 2 boxes. Half of this box was for the front right door, the other half is for the rear right door, and then the other box is for the whole left side. So basically, you can just take this box over here and get started on pulling these fun stickers off of the back of the tiles. So basically what we're doing is just stacking these tiles in one at a time, each one on top of each other, and we're actually going to try and fit 3 rows of these on here, all the way across. So that's what we're doing for the center channel, and then we'll get started on the top and the bottom later. So on this piece right here, I wasn't able to fit it in the lower portion, so I just set it right next to the one that I had put on there previously. So I've got 4 pieces left, so now I'm going to start going back and filling in these spots over here. Alright, so we've got all the tiles in place. We have 18 in this section here, 8 in this section here, and 10 down here. Alright, so we got the outer skin treated, and now we need to get the inner skin treated. So basically these are the tools we need: a drill, a roller, tape measure, pick, scissors, panel tool, and a blade. And so we're just going to go ahead and get this door finished. First thing we're going to do is get the wiring off of here. So just take your panel tool, pry on these clips, then you just want to push in this grommet. And you can just feed all the wires through that hole. Much less wiring to deal with than the front door, so it's a little bit easier. This one's just like the front door. You just gotta push that in, pull it through. So that's everything you need to do to basically get this door flat enough to where you can get the treatment. Then we're going to take our cleaner, just go over the whole door. Make sure not to slice your hand open on these. These are very sharp. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new box. And we're going to need to take some measurements. So we're going to start from the bottom up, because you really want to start covering this hole first before you start doing up here, just that way you have a seam up here instead of in the middle of this hole. So it's going to be 30 inches wide, should cover it, and then those sheets are going to be 20 inches tall. So So this is going to go right about like that. We're just gonna line this up about halfway down with that black plastic piece. So we can go ahead and rip this off. I'm just gonna set this right here. And all the pieces that I cut, I'll set on that so that way it doesn't stick to the floor for eternity. So I didn't get it. So you just want to basically get it set on there first. Doesn't have to be super tight right now. And the first thing we're going to do is fold this into that corner and get our blade. Just cut down the edge of that. Cut that right off. Same thing on this side. Now you can just start from the middle and just start pressing it on a little bit firmer. Just fold those in right there. We'll deal with those in just a minute. Make sure you leave your sides loose because we're going to have to trim those down. Alright, so here you just want to take your blade on the edge of that bracket and just cut it down. Same thing on these sides. And that will just fold in. Right here you have to cut this out so that way the door handle will actually get caught on this if it's not cut out. So we're just going to have to cut a good sized square right here. And we can just go ahead and start pushing that on over there. Leave that. The door actually sits on the outside of that, so we can just go ahead and push that down. Then over here, we've got a clip there, and I'm just gonna start going around this bolt here, and then you can kind of see this outline of the door there, so I'm just gonna basically go with that line there. Okay. Now we can come over to this side over here. It's got a pretty good bit of excess over here. So we've got a clip there for the wiring harness and a clip there for the door. Another clip there. So what I'm going to do is start right here and just pretty much go straight down. And then come around. I can see where my speaker is going to sit, so I can just come around here. Alright, so I'm going to get my roller. Just go ahead and make sure all of this is pressed down firmly. Okay, now you need to get the tape measure and see how much we need for that piece there. So it should be about 28 inches long and we'll say about 6 inches tall. Since it's only 6 inches tall, I'm just going to measure out. I don't want to waste a whole piece, so I'm just going to do 6 inches there. See where my 20 inches is. Mark that. Measure out my 28 inches. Mark that. And 6 inches there. 28 inches there as well. That's gonna fit basically just like that. Just want to make sure you line it up on one side or the other. And just stick the bottom on first before you get started onto sticking the top. I'm just gonna make a tiny little notch right here. Same here. Now that lines up perfect with the bottom piece. Now we're covering this clip just a tiny bit, so I'm just gonna come down right here and then meet at this corner. Do the same thing over here. Got a clip there, so don't really want to cover that. So I'm just gonna take this angle here, follow it down, meet right there. Now we can roll it on. Okay. Now we need to cut all the holes out that we need, which are speaker, block off, the wiring harness, and the door latch. So I'm going to start here and just get a good outline of it. Yeah, there are wires there, so just make sure you don't necessarily go through the material. If you just basically cut the outer foam, because as you can see, this is 3 layers. It's a butyl on the underside, then it's got aluminum and a foam on the outside. So if you just kind of cut that outside foam and a little bit of the aluminum, it's pretty easy to just tear off. Just want to go over it a couple times. Keep in mind this wiring harness. And it just tears off. You can just push the edges in. You can take your roller now we're going to get this cut out. Go ahead and push this through. Put it back in place. This one can kind of be tricky sometimes. But if you just line this edge up and then push this end down, it's pretty easy. Now we can get this speaker hole cut out. Just a circle, which I'm not very good at cutting. And now the wiring harness hole. That should just pull on through. Now we need to get this wiring harness where it needs to go, and you can feel on the back side kind of where those clips need to go. That's There's one right here. I like to get my pick so I can see where the hole is, and then take your blade and just cut around it so that clip can sit flush and actually clip in. Also one right here. And then one right here. Last one right there. Alright, so now we are ready to get this block off plate installed. And so we have our 2 screws right here that we're going to need to take out. So you can just get your bit up in there and it'll pull right out. Now we need our block off plate and our screws. We can just thread these back in. Makes it a little bit easier to get them lined up. That's the block off plate. Screws back. Now we've got the speaker. So we're just going to need 3 screws for those, for the rear speakers. And they're going to be oriented this way with the focal like this and the wire on the bottom. First thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and thread the screws in, so that way we can know exactly where the holes are. the last thing you need to do is the foam gasket around the tape, around the speaker. Pull that sticker off, get that out of the way, and doesn't matter where you start, but just get it right on the edge of that speaker. Start pressing it on. Just go all the way around. You can take some scissors. There we go. So now we've got everything installed on the door. Now what we have to do is actually sound treat the door panel itself. Alright, so we've got the door panel on the table here. The first thing we're going to do is just remove this cloth thing and try and get this sticker off as best as we possibly can. We'll get the prep saw on there and get most of it off. Same thing there. So basically what we're going to be treating is we're going to be getting pieces right here, here. Definitely want to get something right here. Maybe a little small piece right here and something right there. So we don't really want to put anything right here just because the door panel is going to sit right on our sound treatment on the actual door itself. So we don't want to add too much material there because it's going to be hard to actually push the door panel back on. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean everything off. Start with the stickers. They don't come off, that'll be fine as long as you get them cleaned up. So now we've got a few scraps here from what we treated in the doors, so we could probably utilize most of this. So I'm just going to start. We need to measure these pieces out. That's going to be 6.5 by 4. There we go. So that's 6.5 that way. So I'm just gonna measure out 4 this way. this piece right here is going to be 7.5 tall by 8.5 wide. And this piece should be perfect for that. Seven and a half tall, 8.5 wide. So do it this way. Just want to start at this corner right here. And you can take your blade, fold that in, just cut along that corner right there. And then just straight up from there. There we go. Okay. So now we can try and fit a piece right in here. It's going to be at most 6 inches wide, 6 inches tall. Press that down. And now we have this small piece right here and that piece right there. And probably utilize something like this. This piece. Do 6 by 2.5. Now we need a 8.5 by 18 piece. So this should be perfect for that. Mark out 18 right here. 18 down here. I'm just gonna go down 8.5 inches. Then we can just cut on these lines right here. I have to cut this notch out. And this line right here. Now we can just go ahead and roll everything on. Alright, so now that we've got all the sound treatment done, we got the door treated, the block off plate speaker in place, now the door is ready to go back on. So go ahead and grab it and Set it up right there. And plug our clips in. And this one just hooks in at the top and clips in at the bottom. Now these wires, they do tend to like to fall at times and get hung up in the speaker. So just make sure those are pulled up. And the door lock just goes into this little insert right there. And the top does hook on, so make sure you get that in place and hooked on. And the clips should just go into place. Don't necessarily have to bang on the door to get the clips to go in. So now we are ready to get all the screws in place. So the gray looking screws here, those go in up here in the handle. And these silver screws with the small washer, they go right down here. And you have these two black screws. Right down in there. And the clips, or the panels, clip right on. And there's two tabs down here. Just slide in and clip on. So that's it. We've got this whole side done. And basically what you'll do is just repeat the same thing on the other side. You can rewind the video, watch it again, or basically just look at what you did on this side and do it on the other. So.
Alright, so now you've installed the amplifier rack, all the wiring, you did the sound treatment, installed the speakers. You're almost done. Now it's time to turn on the system, and we're going to get Sage to jump in and kind of go over a few details on how to utilize your system, what to expect, maybe a couple songs that you want to listen for, and that's it. So check out the next video so we can finally turn your system on.